Let's go!
We need to talk about Reptile, right? I got to talk about Reptile because as of right now, Reptile is probably the best representation of the character ever, I think, in my opinion. While not completely disregarding the classic Reptile that people like, human Reptile, and not disregarding creepy, weird lizard man. It has both, and I think it does both in the best way possible. So look at this stupid, sexy bastard. Damn, bruh. How did you kill it so hard? So here's what we got to do. We have to go back. We need to go all the way back to the beginning, the very first ones, and we're gonna harshly judge the visual retrospective of Reptile. Reptile Mortal Kombat. Let's go back to the start. So here's our boy in his original green fervor. Oh yeah, looking good. Damn, Reptile. So here's the problem, is that you're never gonna beat this. You're never gonna beat this beautiful green man. Let's judge the reptiles. We're gonna rate the reptiles here. About as basic bitched as this shit can get. This is like oh man, I can't give it that low of a grade. I can't give it a 3 because it is low effort, but it is human reptile, so I'm kind of fine with it. So to me, this is like the most basic de facto standard. It's a 5, bro. All right, let's just leave normal ass, like hidden mystery human reptile. Now let's move on. And here's a proper evolution, right? Mortal Kombat 2 Reptile, while sharing a lot of similarities with the other MK ninjas, was ultimately a weird lizarded bitch underneath the mask. So that goofy face was always there, busting heads and you know, eating your skull and shit. He always had this crazy weird head. But you know, I got a soft spot for this version of Reptile because this version of Reptile gets like a unique pose. Right? An actual like inclusion that isn't just like a representation of another character. He's a palette swap ninja, I get it, but he has unique moves. So I kind of dig this version, right? He can turn invisible. He's got different idol. To a lot of people, this version of Reptile is hella dope. And I kind of agree. This is where the de facto Reptile stance comes from. So to me, MK2 Reptile is possibly one of the better ones. So moving on. Reptile Mortal Kombat 3. Here's the problem with MK3 Reptile, is that he's sort of shared asset man again, right? In terms of like default pose, because they cram so many ninjas into this game. MK3 Reptile ends up getting just the same treatment as almost all of the other Mortal Kombat ninjas around this time. It's hard to judge because like, oh, okay, you're essentially judging the UMK3 costumes, right? Okay, that's fine. But it's in the same way, like, what do you feel about the visuals of Reptile? The same way I feel about all this shit, man, right? They all have a very similar look. They're either like fisted or creepy clawed. And what do you mean by that? Well, fisted or creepy clawed, fisted or creepy clawed, fisted or creepy clawed. Like, that is about it, man. Like, there's really not a lot to say about the visuals of Reptile in this game, but I have to look up combos. And that we're not just talking about just the visual looks. I want some UMK3 Reptile combos. Yes, video from 12 years ago. Let's go. See, this has the really fun stuff, like orb bouncing back and shit like that. He gets spit. Let's get some interesting shit here. Things have a bit more utility now. Still is like relatively basic, but man, calling like orb and then calling orb again and having them bounce back and bounce back and bounce back, that shit is really cool. So I don't know, man. I think this version of Reptile is okay, right? I don't think I like it as much as MK2 Reptile because that one is a little bit more original, slightly more original, slightly more. So I'm giving this one a 7, right? 7 out of 10 for this version of Reptile. Mortal Kombat 4 Reptile, and people swear by this version, right? People swear up and down by the visuals of this lizard-looking man. People really dig this version of Reptile for some reason. I don't know if I know why. I don't know. Like, so it's like in between being lizard and man, where he has like a mask but not a mask, but they do the worst thing that a mask can do, which is to expose your nose and your mouth. But I'm like, oh, they're doing that because he's gonna spit at you and lick you and all this dumb shit. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this version of Reptile, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's look up some combos. Reptile TAS. Oh, what is this version? Oh, this version looks different. Huh. Yeah, this alt is actually pretty decent. But I mean, granted, Mortal Kombat 4 is a little crude. Hang on a second. Yeah, maybe that's what we should look at. That's the alt costume. And it's not that bad. Maximum damage, no more damage. It doesn't really, I mean, granted, it could be the task kicking in. You know, and it's kind of rough. MK4, you know, MK4 is pretty crude nowadays, in my opinion. I think I'd have to bring this one, even with this perspective, if not, we're looking at this one. I think I got to bring this one back down to a 5. Its peak. I would personally give the mixture of these two, if we had to balance them out. This one would be like a 3, but I think this one is a bit better, maybe like a 6 or a 7, relatively. So I'm going to meet you halfway and put it at like a 5 between two, where Mortal Kombat 4 has some rough around the edges stuff, but it doesn't have an absolute terrible mixture of reptiles. So we got to move forward. The next one is special. This one has a special place in my heart. This is Reptile from Mortal Kombat 5, aka Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. And I want you to see what peak character design looks like. Now, I know you all are getting off immediately. I know it's happening at the moment. And I'm going to say, hang on a second. Just listen to me. Listen to me. Hang on a sec here. Stop looking at his beautiful face. Stop looking at his beautiful beautiful eyes and his beautiful tail. Stop. Quit looking. What in the hell, dude? Why is his head so small? Why? It's Gex. Yes. It actually, it's close. So yeah, I feel like this version of Reptile is that much. I almost give this one credit because it's hilarious. You know, I almost have to give Deadly Alliance Reptile a little bit of credit because he's so fucking weird. Like, how is he so weird? How is he so weird? It's like, I want to give it a 1, but then I don't. I kind of want to give it a 6 because he's so Stop getting out of here, Gex. He's so weird. Hang on a second. Let's look up some combos. Reptile MK Deadly Alliance combos. Yeah, this is not doing much. The crab style. Yeah, I forgot about crab stance in this game. Oof. He's getting a 3. What the hell? Never again. Please, no, never again. Was there no Reptile in Deception? Okay. So there you go. Because next time he would be redesigned into this, right? So he's in Shaolin Monks. We'll have to check that out. So Armageddon Reptile. I'm going to argue that this is indeed better. Still not great, but I think is a substantial jump up from what they had going on before. Better, but not the best. Let's look up Deception, Reptile, MK, Arcade Ladder. Okay, so we're seeing some good Reptileisms here, you know? Some invisibility stuff. He's got real big Predator feet, though. He's got massive Predator feet. Hey, stop being always invisible. I need to see your stuff. Oh, this is... Oh, damn. Oh, we got somebody that knows what's going on. Oh, so you could be classic goofball Reptile in this one as well. Dang it. Huh. So it was an alternate costume. Gotcha. So you got both of them in this one. That makes sense because MK Armageddon was like everything. It was all the assets sort of put together, you know? It's still not great, but oh man, and that face is also rough too. Nah, I think I'm gonna boil it back down to a 5, man. I don't know if I like this version of Reptile very much. I think I'm gonna give this version like a 5. Shaolin Monks Reptile. What does Shaolin Monks Reptile look like? Oh, it's similar. It's similar, but yeah, this one's not bad. I think this is sort of cool looking, right? I think this is kind of neat looking. At least the way this one looks. And it's funny that MK Armageddon Reptile is actually very similar, but there's like small differences, you know? Yeah, it's just the big mouth, bro. It looks like Ermac but green. Well, granted, we haven't looked at Ermac in a long time. He does have the Ermac head wrap, but I don't know if Ermac had this head wrap around this time frame. He gets that later, where they tried to turn Ermac into a mummy. I think I dislike this, and I'm a bit more okay with this, right? The head wrap is still not a good idea. It is not a good idea. What's next after that? MK versus DC, no Reptile. We pretty much got to go to MK9 at that point. Is that really Reptile in MK9? It is. This one's very close to his MKX design. All right. It's definitely not hitting in a way that makes me think it's great. I'll say this is like a 7. As of right now, it's 7-like. But just giving him like the really far back, like lizard on the side of the head eyes and kind of stuff. He looks more like a bird. Yeah, I think that could be it. Looks kind of like a bird. And then you get his classic costume, Mortal Kombat 2 Reptile. And there's not much to say about this other than, okay, yeah, that's MK2 Reptile, right? Because now is the point where Reptile gets some really interesting shit, right? Where this character starts to get some very, like, his gameplay really gets figured out in 2D. Some very sick stuff, right? Yeah, I feel like this is... Now we're getting to, like, sort of peak Reptile gameplay-wise. He looks cool in motion. So you know what? I do want to give him a 7. Yeah, it's just the full commitment to him being this like big green weirdo. It doesn't, it's like it's missing something, you know? Mortal Kombat X, Reptile Mortal Kombat X, let's go there. They try to make him look cool, because I feel like this is probably the next best take on him. They try to give him like bone stuff, and they try to make his mask look cool, and they really do their best to make him look a bit better, but ultimately it still doesn't hit, right? I think it is better than the previous one, but it still is not ideal, right? We're still very Argonian lizard man is what they're committing to. This is the perspective we get now to realize how good we have this in Mortal Kombat 1, how good Reptile is in this game, because this is largely one of the most popular Mortal Kombat characters. And it's crazy to go back and see for how many games, in my opinion, they did him sort of dirty, right? Where they were trying to make him unique, and some people are going to like that aspect of him, but turning him into like the creature from the Black Lagoon sort of stuff, which is literally one of his costumes in this game, is sort of odd, you know? So even in Mortal Kombat X, I think I give like a 7.5. Which version of Reptile pre Mortal Kombat 1 actually has the best version? It's actually the Reptile from the Mortal Kombat movie. You almost have to consider that, like, does this also count? Does this Reptile also count, right? Does that one? Because this I definitely don't agree with. But you realize, what did they do in the movie? What did they do with the Reptile in the movie and the fight scene? All they really did was the same thing they're doing in Mortal Kombat 1. All they did was give this version of the character and a weird lizard version that can transform into, and then also a human version. And that was their solution to Mortal Kombat 1, the new Mortal Kombat 1 as well. But he hisses. He's like, and you know, he's like, he does that kind of shit. That's cool. This is an iconic scene, and the music's amazing, and all this shit is amazing. This is still got like a soft spot for me because this is very much human Reptile in several ways. People are going to tell me, hey, what about Mortal Kombat 2021 Reptile? Right? What about the newest movie Reptile? This version, however, looks probably the closest to what they did in Mortal Kombat to his like actual lizard form in Mortal Kombat 1, right? It's pretty much the same. So some people have said in the past, like, no, that wasn't Reptile. Reptile will come back later. I don't know what the actual director said. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much is Reptile. Like, I don't fucking, to me, this looks very similar to what Reptile looks like in MK1. It's really not that far off. Big neck, right? Big mouth, big neck, all this stuff. The difference now is that none of these reptiles look cool, right? Reptile's cool and mysterious, and he does this shit. He turns invisible, right? That's what makes Reptile fucking cool. He's back to being cool again, which is, I think, what has been missing from Reptile for so long is the cool factor. All the Mortal Kombat ninjas need to be cool. What does a character have to be? No, they need to be cool. Sub-Zero and Scorpion are always relatively cool. And I don't mean that as in cold Sub-Zero. I mean, their designs are always supposed to be like, damn, that character's cool. They always are trying to do that with the majority of their main roster characters, right? It's too late for our boy Ermac. It's too late for him. But the majority of MK ninjas have to, like, in my opinion, elicit that sort of a reaction. Because back in the day, they were the coolest looking characters in classic MK. The ninjas just look so sick. They specifically nailed that part of what made Reptile cool, which is to make him have a mask, not see his mouth all the time, and to make his gameplay look sick. And that's easily one of the most important things. He looks cool again. Damn, dude. Transform into a lizard. I don't give a shit. You transform back and you're a cool guy. I mean, they made him cool again. That's all it really is. We just investigated the entire history of Reptile in Mortal Kombat, right? What he looks like in every single game. And to be completely honest, the game I think he actually looks the best in is Mortal Kombat 2. Funny enough, I think he looks the coolest in Mortal Kombat 2.